Now, I want to switch gears to the starting rotation.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Strike three. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Mookie Betts cranks it left field.
They're going to make big signings. They're going to make impact trades.
I don't care how many times this team rips my heart out, I'll never stop loving the Los Angeles Dodgers. Think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out. We know, of course, they've done a lot to fortify it. They've absolutely hit a home run. They checked off every box as far as they added 2 aces, right? You added the upside of Tyler Glass now. He's someone that when he's on the mound, I don't care what metric you look at, he's absolutely filthy. He's world-class. Then you add a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the top pitching free agent that was available. You have Bobby Miller returning. You have Walker Buehler back on a little bit of a pitch count. It's going to be a little bit of a not kid glove situation, but I think they're going to ease him into it and just they're going to trust his opinion on, okay, am I ready to go?
Sure.
Emmett Sheehan's still in the fold. I don't think he's going to be ready to just be your number 5 starter. I mean, you lose some depth at the minor league level with Ryan Pepio, but how big of a priority do you think it needs to be to possibly add one more veteran starter to add depth to this rotation to make sure that you got all these innings covered?
So the Dodgers are the most thorough organization probably in baseball. So what they do is they put down numbers. Okay, like here's how many innings this year we need our starters to cover. Here's how many we think this guy will cover. This guy, I put out a tweet a while back. It was way on the conservative side, and I did that purposely just to kind of show what, it's kind of the mind process and the thought process that goes into, do the Dodgers need another starting pitcher? That was kind of why I did that. So you look, 800-ish to 900 innings, something like that from the starters. So do the math in terms of what you think you're going to get from each guy. Okay, so I think there is definitely 200, maybe plus 200 innings for the Emmett Sheehans, for the Kyle Hurts, for the Gavin Stones, for the Michael Groves, the Nick Frossos, the Landon Knacks. I think there's 200 plus innings, maybe even more than that for those types of guys. So you have the situation to where you can just kind of, you can really pace it to be at your ultimate for the postseason with a Walker Buehler, with the Tyler Glass. Now, you mentioned kid gloves, whatever you want to call it from that perspective. Okay, I have been saying this for a long time. Because you have those innings, just do the math. Because you have those innings available, I have been saying this from the mountaintop. Go get Jesus Luzardo. I know it's going to take probably 4 guys and guys that it's going to have to, the Dodgers front office is going to have to go outside their comfort box and just go, oh my God, I can't believe we're giving up this guy, right? I can't believe we're giving up 4 players. That's fine. Go get Jesus Luzardo. Go get Tanner Scott. Wait for Josh Hader because you have closer guys that are possibilities in-house like a Kyle Hurt, maybe a Dustin May, guys like that. Wait till Josh Hader gets a little bit more desperate and he's going, okay, well, maybe not 4 to 5 years. Well, maybe a 2-year deal. So how about you go get Jesus Luzardo? How about you get Tanner Scott, who's on a contract year, who has really good major league experience. He's left-handed. He could throw your high leverage left-handed innings. And then wait for Josh Hader, sign him on a 1 to 2 year deal. How about that to finish your offseason?
Now you're talking about playing in a fantasy baseball league with like 2 teams, right? I mean, that whole collection of talent, that could, honestly, I would pay to see that team versus our team in one game, just to see how that would look. I think they would be very competitive in that game. Now, as far as Jesus Luzardo, look, there's not a lot of players out there that could possibly be actually made available that I would consider really shipping off a lot of prospects for. He's one of them, though. You're talking about 3 years of team control, hardest throwing lefty. And one thing, too, when you look at this organization, Casey, is they always go for that raw stuff and that high upside, that high ceiling, because they know that that's what plays up in the postseason, in the big games, on the big stage. Look at the trade they made for Tyler Glass now, right? They didn't look at, 120 innings is his career high, 21 starts is his career high. No, they looked at what he does on the mound. You're seeing it's increasingly becoming the norm to pay pitchers for their rate stats, right? Not the, 200 innings and this kind of stuff. Look, and the thing about Luzardo, he made 32 starts, I believe, last season, which was a career high for him. I think that the Dodgers, if they were able to engage in serious talks and get deep into talks for a trade for him, I guarantee you would want to see them add maybe a reliever. Tanner Scott would be a dream, especially if you're not able to sign a Josh Hader type, right? You add that lefty reliever as well. But look, I think with Luzardo, he's a player where if he's in a bigger market, right, on a bigger stage, this is someone who would be not a household name necessarily, but would be on players and fans' radars just more. But he's so incredibly talented. I know that when the Dodgers see him, they're rubbing their hands together, right? They know that they could absolutely take him to a whole nother level. Now, I will say they didn't go out there and they didn't go and really try to get Imanaga. They weren't aggressive with that. I never thought they were. And you look at Roki Sasaki, could he be available next season? That rotation, you got Ohtani, you got Glass now, you got Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If you get Luzardo, I mean, we're talking about from a talent perspective, one of, if not one of those talented rotations on paper potential in the history of the game, if they were able to pull off something like that. Now, to your point about Josh Hader, I think you're absolutely on the money. I think that is how they would be able to acquire him. If he's not able to get the contract he wants, and he falls into their lap, that's how you're able to get him. I'm absolutely okay. You're already in that Cohen territory as far as the CBT. If you can get a Josh Hader and give yourself a closer that you know is lights out, it's good against righties and lefties, can get the swing and miss, one of the best in the game still. He's not the 47% strikeout rate going multi-innings anymore. He's more of a true closer. Absolutely, you go that route. One question I have for you, though, about Josh Hader is, do you think that since he wouldn't be necessarily trying to pile up those save stats, because we know that that's how you increase your value, increase your Hall of Fame case, do you think it's a situation where if they were to sign him, he'd be okay not going out there in the ninth every time? You could play some matchups with Evan Phillips and some of these other high leverage relievers for the Dodgers.
Wouldn't matter. If the Dodgers signed him, they would tell him what he's going to do, and that's what he would do. And the statement behind that is, hey, dude, look around you, brother. We got Shohei Ohtani. We've got Freddie Freeman. We got Mookie Betts. We got other dudes right here, right? And by the way, we're trying to win a World Series. So, hey, we have one of the best organizations that puts our brain, people criticize about, they think that the Dodgers collaborate with the starting lineups, with the matchups. Absolutely they do. Why wouldn't they? They have the smartest brains in the world. Why wouldn't they sit down and collaborate about every bit of information they have and discuss it together? Now, once the game starts, Dave has total autonomy. I think we all know that. So, hey, whatever the Dodgers thought for any player on their team thought would give that team a better chance to win a World Series, after they've committed money to Ohtani, to Yamamoto, to making the trade for Tyler Glass now, to all of these things, of course, if they felt like Josh Hader could make Evan, kind of what you're going to is making Evan Phillips that versatile guy makes the bullpen better. I totally agree with that, D-Mac. So if they felt like Josh Hader could bring that versatility for Evan Phillips and they thought that would help them, then absolutely he wouldn't have a choice. And I don't think that he would have any problem with that, because I couldn't imagine anybody not wanting to win a World Series, because you can have all the stats you want, but if you have those stats and a World Series title both on your pedigree and on your resume, you instantly become way more valuable.
It just really makes you wonder, too, Casey. I mean, the Yankees, the Rangers still could get Montgomery back, and the Yankees, they're trying to make moves as well.
Yeah.
Look, there's not a lot of teams out there that are willing to go north of $100 million for a closer. And I think that the Dodgers, they're going to either get their guy at their price or they're going to be fine looking elsewhere. And I think it's very interesting that this is what chapter we're in as far as the Dodgers offseason, where we've signed all these elite names. Yeah. We've traded for great players as well. And you've put together this incredible roster, but we're not done yet, right? I mean, the fact that we're talking about a Hader still after making all these moves is almost insane. Even Teoscar Hernandez, right? But what is your biggest concern at this point? I mean, if you had to spot the pimple on a model on this roster, is it maybe the defense on the left side? Is it adding another high leverage lefty reliever? Is it the depth of the starting rotation? What would you pinpoint that at?
I don't think you could say that it's a weakness. I could think you could say it's a concern. Of course, hey, we talked D-Mac at the end of last year, and you asked about Bobby Miller in the playoffs. My comment was, if anybody tells you they know how Bobby Miller is going to respond to the adrenaline that a playoff outing is going to give him, they don't know. They're lying, because they've never seen him in that situation, right? So, hey, I saw Gavin Lux at Tulsa. I can tell you, Henny would swear by him. I saw him in Oklahoma City. He was the best shortstop prospect in the game in 2019. He was awesome in Oklahoma City. That stretch he went on was amazing. So I can tell you what I think is going to happen with Gavin Lux based off what I've seen, but nobody can tell you they know how Gavin Lux is going to handle the shortstop position every day at the major league level. Nobody can make that statement. So from that perspective, absolutely, that is a 100% concern just because of the unknown aspect of it. And if there's one thing that this organization doesn't like, it is indecision and parts of their lineups that are unknowns. They like everything to be controlled. And then obviously the defense from Max Muncy, that's always a concern. You just hope that he's able to hit his way over the top of that. No doubt about that. Now, kind of an underdog concern that quite frankly, I complained about quite a bit last year, at the beginning of last year, and I still think that it came back to bite them. I still think there's a little bit too much boom and bust in the offense. As much talent as you have, I still think there's going to be down periods where you're not hitting home runs, and because you're not hitting home runs, you're going to struggle to score. I would like to see a little bit more balance. Hopefully, Gavin Lux can bring that dynamics to it. So when you don't hit home runs in 3 or 4 games, you're still able to scratch across 4 or 5 runs just kind of by manufacturing runs and winning games in those aspects of games, because I think that's what translates to extra inning wins. I think that's what translates to really close 1-run wins. And I think that also can translate into some swing game type of wins in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic point you brought up there as far as the boom and bust. I think the biggest key to neutralize that is you can afford some of your hitters to get cold. This lineup can absolutely cover that, but you can't get all cold at the same time at the wrong time. And I think that, look, you still got Ohtani. Could he hit over 300 like he did last year? Yes, he possibly could. I think that's the big one, though. Gavin Lux. If you talk to the guys in this clubhouse, when he went down, the first thing they said is we all expected him to hit near 300. Gavin Lux really added some muscle, wants to hit more home runs. Will he sacrifice some of that average for some more pop? Maybe he does, but I do think it's pivotal to kind of have a little bit of a bat-to-ball contact mindset there from Gavin Lux. And I would agree with you. Max Muncy, his best defense is his offense, right? If he can produce at the plate, it justifies having him at the hot corner there. But when you look at Gavin Lux, the thing that I find interesting is you have some of these rumors out there. It feels like there's always just a little bit of smoke at the very end of an article. It's, they're interested in a shortstop. And is that Willy Adames? It does feel like, yeah, they feel like they're confident in him, but if a shortstop becomes made available, maybe they go out there and get him. I still think that it's in the best interest of this organization, especially early on. You can always address things during the season to see if he can get it done, to see if he can fully realize his potential. Because look, one of the most premium positions in the sport is the shortstop position. They don't grow on trees. There's about 10 of them on this planet that can play average defense and hit above average at the plate. So I still think when we look at the team control of Gavin Lux, I would still, even if Willy Adames becomes available, you talk about boomer bust, he's very boomer bust, right? I still think that it really behooves this organization to see if Gavin Lux can be the long-term solution at short.
There's a reason why they were going to give him a chance last year. There's a reason why they're going to give him a chance this year. You just nailed every single one of them. It is the fact that he can be a dynamic bat-to-ball skill type player that can steal bases. The type of player that I just mentioned that the Dodgers I didn't feel like really had last year. The guy that can do a little bit of everything, generate maybe 2 runs in a game where you don't hit a home run, be that pesky type of Corbin Carroll guy, for lack of a better term, that we saw with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He could add that to this offense. And then from a defensive perspective, he grew up a shortstop there in Wisconsin. I can tell you the transition to second base, Dodgers fans, they greatly underrate the difficulty level of changing positions at the major league level. It is way harder. Even if you say, okay, well, if you can play shortstop, surely he can play second base, right? Well, it's a totally different footwork. A lot of times you're moving towards the second base bag instead of moving towards the first base bag when you throw. It's just a totally different look off the bat. So you get a whole different jump on the ball. So I think the Dodgers fans have underrated the difficulty level of trying to incorporate at the major league level to begin with, right? That's tough enough to begin with. And then playing left field, playing second base, playing every position except for the one you grew up playing. So from that perspective, I think Gavin Lux is owed, say, 3 to 4 months. Hey, let's see what you can do here. And let's see if you can, because like you said, if he does take the best case scenario, hands down, period, end of discussion, Gavin Lux takes the shortstop position by the horns. He becomes your everyday shortstop. And now you have one of the best shortstops in the game, one of the best offensive shortstops in the game. And you have a lot of team control on him, which, as you mentioned, Doug, that allows you then to go make a lot of moves around him, of which the Dodgers have done. One thing Dodgers fans need to understand as well, which they do, the Dodgers fans are great out there, is that for every Shohei Ohtani that you have, you need to have a James Outman that is very cheap and very controllable, right? It's tough to have 9 All-Stars, all with 9 All-Star type contracts on the team at once.
Exactly. And on that same point, too, you don't need every single person in your lineup to hit 30-plus home runs either. I mean, if you were just able to get the same production from Gavin Lux in 2022, where he hit 276, had a 114 weighted runs created plus, he was 14% above league average, and that was after he kind of those numbers went down a little bit when he returned from that injury, right? I mean, if you can replicate those numbers and combine that with even just league average, all I'm asking for is league average defense with the restriction on the shift. I'm going with Gavin Lux versus going out there and getting a Willie Adames who is under one more year of team control, right? Because you're going to shift off prospects for someone that you're not going to sign to an extension. I still think Gavin Lux deserves the opportunity. Also, Casey, I need some ammo when I get the built versus bought type roster. I do want some homegrown talent in this organization to really have an impact. So, yeah, I'm totally with you on the Gavin Lux thing now.